thank you guys all for being here for the 2026 State of the County. We have partnered with our local commissioners, obviously Polk County commissioners, to do this with the chamber for I think 3 or 4 years now. And we just appreciate your guys' time and sharing information. We were able to have this through Teams today, so we will have a recording of it, and some people are able to actually jump in and view as far as that. So it's nice to have that level of accessibility because not everybody is obviously able to sit in this room. So with this, I think I'm turning things over to our board chair, Lyle, and thank you guys once again.
Thank you. Thanks, Tara. Thanks for hosting this, and thanks everybody for coming. So this year's been a very challenging year, and most of you know about the challenge of the fairgrounds and budgeting and that. And we got some pretty interesting stuff to cover. And I kind of want to set the tone for the meeting. I said I didn't go by my gut feeling here. I think I'm going to let Commissioner Pope start this off. So first off, I do want to bring your attention. This is final year. So this is going to be his last presentation of the state of the county. And we need to thank him for 16 years. He's one of the hardest working commissioners we've ever had. So. So with that, Mr. Pope, you can express your feelings and where we're at.
Well, state of the county addresses, state of the city addresses, those kind of things generally have political foundations to them where politicians are going to sit up in front of you and tell you how rosy things are. And these guys are probably going to do that. Definitely the one that's still in campaign mode. I'm not going to do that because I'm not in campaign mode. And I think that, you know, all of us are really demanding more honesty from our elected officials about how things really are, how things really work. So I think most of you know, I think all of you are engaged at some point about, you know, in the things that are challenging across our county and our cities, our state, and, you know, how we always try to put a positive spin on it, which is important, but it's also important for everybody to understand the realities. And again, I'm expecting most of you are very familiar with the realities of where we are in this state with a number of issues. But my primary focus tonight is about the elements of taxation and how challenging it is for us always, but and cities are also in that. And so I'm speaking to Brian, and for Brian's benefit back there, representing cities, that it's not just a county problem. My frustration runs high these days with just the lack of understanding and education about how our taxation system works in this state. And most specifically with property taxes, what they're used for, what they're allowed to be used for, and how limited they are. I will tell you right out of the box that the measures 5, 47, and 50 that were passed in the mid to late 90s had great intentions on limiting property taxes, but they didn't have anything built in to be able to work in 2026 needs. However, I am still a big supporter of those limitations because it limited us, all of us, to 3% growth. And of course that should work, but the problem that we're in now is that we're running at about 8 to 10% expense growth versus a 3%, sometimes up to 4% revenue growth based on assessed values and that 3% allowance. So Measure 50 does put a lot of challenges in front of all of us with regard to how we pay for growing needs and an economy that you know, continues to have more wants. So one of the things that's a big problem for us is what it costs us for labor. And again, all of us in government are in the same space. Some try to be more conservative than others. We definitely try to be conservative as we possibly can with regard to what it costs us to employ people here. But, you know, we have 4 unions in this county. And I can tell you right now, the trend is unions will walk in the door with as high as 10% expectations first year of negotiations. You know, and again, I just told you, we get a 3% growth. And we have labor that walks in every time that they want to negotiate a new contract with an expectation of something considerably higher than that. So what we end up settling on generally is always going to be higher than that, because that's what they're used to being able to do across the state and across the country. And we constantly are threatened by losing those folks if we aren't paying that competitive wage. So that's a huge challenge. And so ultimately what that breaks down to for folks is that if you don't keep up with that and you don't pay them the rate that is an outcome that's negotiated at other places around you, you lose them. Or you negotiate that rate and wait till you're out of money and then you let them go. Which, by the way, then they become a PERS liability on you until they die. That's how it works. So you pay their unfunded liability, forever. And so there's huge challenges with hiring people as this county grows. I'll tell you, when I started out here in 2011, we had half the number of employees in this county that we do today. And but we get to be responsible for the PERS liability, the county's share of that liability for them forever, essentially. So that doesn't go away as we do a reduction in force. And I've been through one of those here as well, where we've had to let a lot of folks go, and that was mostly in behavioral health. By the way, and again, we'll touch on this more, I'm sure, but just so folks know, we're running $100 million, well, I can't remember, it's 125, right?
117, yeah.
$117 million all funds budget. And our general fund runs at 38. You have all these
33 million.
And behavioral health is 43 million. So our property taxes that we collect to take care of public safety, all the public safety needs, including the levy, are considerably less than what we get from Medicaid through the state to pay for behavioral health and public health. And that's a funded mandate that's pass-through money essentially, but we own the employees to deliver all those behavioral health and public health services. So that's where we are, and that's generally where you'll find all Oregon counties and cities, is that they're up against these restrictions and the inability to draw enough revenue from our property tax system to operate. And then you've got state government and legislators that constantly are trying to find a way to put their hand in that same bucket of property taxes and use that for their interests as well. And we fight like the devil as county commissioners to keep that from happening. But I feel like that if we don't, if there's a mindset from new county commissioners coming on that that's fair game, we lose that battle, we're in even deeper trouble. So that's a matter of trying to educate new commissioners as they come on and help them understand that this is our lifeblood. That's all we have, other than what the state allows us to have, beyond behavioral health, little dribbles of income tax for specified mandated process. So we're really in need of a major overhaul in this state of our entire taxing system, both property taxes and income taxes. But pulling down, and Brian back there may disagree with me, and that's fine, but pulling down the protections that Bill Sizemore put on our property tax system in 1995 is probably not the only method that we should be exploring. But right now, I would tell you, all three of us grieve over the fact that our Association of Oregon Counties doesn't want to talk about it, doesn't want to touch this subject. We know that the League of Oregon Cities is taking a lead role in talking about changes to Measure 50. And I don't have any idea what the outcome of that's going to be yet, but I know that the group of counties in this state don't have a cohesive message or plan, which we find very frustrating. And I think that I would tell you that there are counties out there that aren't doing as poorly as we are. And one of the reasons why, of course, is, I've said this, some of you heard me over the years talk about the fact that we don't have our timber taxes that we used to have. We had to forego making any changes to our base rate because of the fact that we had a pretty healthy timber tax coming in back in the late 70s and 80s. And so by the time we got to the 1995 Measure 50, 47 and 50 discussion, we were adequately funded. We didn't need to make significant changes to our base rate. So we got locked in at the $1.71 a thousand that we're currently at. And across the river, we're at $2.85.
$3.03.
Thank you. Anyway, significantly higher. And I think honestly, Marion County is probably pretty comfortable. I know Benton County seems to be pretty comfortable. At least they seem to pay people a lot more. I will give you an example. For example, our administrator is in the $170,000 range, and Benton County is almost double that for an administrator. Every position Benton County has is dramatically higher than we pay. And so again, an example of how hard it is for us to compete because we have neighbors that close that are paying so much more. I don't know how they do it. It's astounding to me, other than they must have accumulative property values that are significantly higher than ours. So those are some of the things that we're up against. So when you hear us talking about levies, we're talking about, this is the new normal for us. There is no other silver bullet. There's no other way for us to think of to make up for these differences. I've been working in the, in what we call the O&C era, the timber tax process in federal lands since I got here. I've had a hard time seeing that we were making progress, but I think we're finally starting to see just a little bit of light under the Trump administration. And I'm not stumping for Trump here, but I'm saying that, we're at least seeing some change in how we would do federal land management so we can actually harvest some more trees rather than burning them. And so it's possible over the next few years, we may see some more dollars come in. Will it solve our problems? I don't think so. We've lost so much traction and revenue that, it's going to take a lot more planning and a lot more work for new revenues than what we're currently doing. But anyway, and as we move on, again, you're going to see this fairgrounds levy, which is essential. These guys are going to talk more about that, and our public safety levy that will come out in May of 2027, absolutely essential in order to maintain the current level of service. So nothing new, just maintain current levels. So I'll stop there. When these guys get done, we'll have lots of time for questions.
Thank you, Chippo. Jeremy, go ahead.
Why don't you go ahead since they queued you up for the fair levy? I assumed we're going to chat about that.
So let's just go with fair levy. And I just want to expand a little bit on what Commissioner Pope just mentioned. When you see one county, you've seen one county. We're all unique. During the governor's election in the primaries, I handed this sheet out to a couple of the candidates. They had no idea there's such disparity across the state. So Marion County, their tax rate is $3.03 a thousand. Their average taxpayer, where they have a 360,000 population, is $280.75 is what they pay annually. Lincoln County, on the other hand, they're $2.82. There are 29,000 people, but their average taxpayer pays $557.58 property taxes annually, because their property values are higher. So even though their rate's lower, the amount they pay is a lot more. Real quick, he mentioned Benton County, $3.10 a thousand. Lynn County, with their $1.27 regular rate, their public safety levy is $3.06. Ours is 49.5 cents. So their $3.06 levy they just passed puts their property tax rate at $4.33 a thousand. So they have a population of $135,000. Average taxpayer pays $403,000. Wrap it up, Polk County, we're $1.71. We got a 49.5 cent levy. puts us at 221 and a penny, or 1,000, or 221 and a tenth of a penny, 1,000. Average taxpayer, we have 92,000 people. It's $188.75. We don't have the large industrial properties that run and average those rates up for the large corporations. We're more of a rural residential county. So that's a comparison. Now, we talk about that, but yet then we have Curry, Coos. They're in the 60-cent range because they were such a large timber county. Their property tax was low. Logging is down. They still get more timber revenue than we do, but still, that's 60-some cents, 65, 66 cents a thousand. Can you imagine what you have operating for public safety and do all the things that the state requires us to deliver? So that's what we're looking at. We have some handouts and stuff. I can meet with you later on that. Which brings us to the Oregon State Fairgrounds, or excuse me, not the Oregon State, Polk County Fairgrounds, and our levy. We do have a levy number, it's 27,149 now. So it will be on the ballot in November. I'm asking for 12 cents a thousand. So the average house in Polk County is $467,000 value. That house is assessed for $247,000. So you pay your taxes on your assessed value, not your retail value. So what we've done is we've made our average home in Polk County, as far as this goes, a $300,000 level. So that's going to cover over 60% of the homes in Polk County. At $300,000 assessed value, and that puts your house worth around $630,000 roughly, you're going to pay $36 a year. That's $3 a month, less than a cup of coffee, to keep and maintain our fairgrounds, which we all know there's 700 events. It's our emergency evacuation center. So, and it's already proven what it's done during our fire. Craig Pope got a call at 7:30 in his office. Fairgrounds is full with all the refugees coming out of the canyon with fires. Can we use fairgrounds? In a half hour, we had the gate open, people there. We were receiving animals, receiving families. It worked, it's proven. And just for that alone is a huge asset for the county. And I talk to people all the time. They're tired of politicians stuffing taxes down our throat. You know what? I am too. The thing about a county, we don't have water bills that we can add to or anything like that. Everything the county does and every tax we create is voter approved. So I had one guy say, I want to pay tax on what I want to pay. Well, you get a vote on these taxes that the county will imply. And a levy is a voter approved tax, like everything else is. Nothing is stuffed down your throat. The county fairgrounds is the county's asset. It's not the state's, not the city's. It's the entire county to utilize. So it is a very critical item, I think, an asset the county has. It's something we need to preserve. So I hope we have your support moving forward, and questions. All three of us will meet with you anytime to discuss it or ask your questions and concerns. One of the exciting things that I want to cover, broadband. For so long, we've been expanding broadband. Our final one was the Ola Hills above West Salem and North. That was completed this last fall. So now I can really tell you in my house, for the first time, I can sit there and I can push the button. I think I've got Comcast in my living room again. It is so much faster than what it was. I can see the tower from my house. It is amazing. So we went from start of COVID, Governor Brown was wanting to reach out to everybody with internet. And we finally tried to explain to her that in Polk County and most rural counties, less than half of the people, 49% of the residents in Polk County had internet. How are we supposed to get online? And then the schools are closed. Our kids are supposed to do homework on the internet. They don't have the internet. We had families with their kids parked near the library using the hotspots to get on and go to school. It was a major challenge. Commissioner Pope and our IS department were really got way ahead of this. How many years did you start that? 10, 15 years ago? In the broadband?
I don't remember.
It is amazing. I came on, every vendor we had in the county was meeting, talking about what they can do and apply for money. And we got our COVID money. And we put that to our broadband expansion for our youth and our communities. I mean, our wineries are out here. How do you market without being online anymore? They didn't have broadband available. Today, with all these efforts, I think we're at 97% coverage in the county. Is that correct?
95.5, somewhere in there.
So there's going to be some deep holes and deep canyons where no matter what we do, you'll never be able to get it there. And when you buy that place, you know you'll never have it. But nonetheless, this is really going to help financially, our business, our families, everything about it, having that now into the 20th century for the first time in a long time and having that available. So it's available for those people that want it for most of it. One of the biggest things, I want to cover a lot of transportation here real quick. 18 and 22 out at the casino, it's at a standstill. ODOT and the tribe are disagreeing on some things. So it's kind of right now at a stalemate. We'll continue to work on that. I'm not sure where it's going to go. 99 in Bethel, north of us, which we all know is McCoy Light. That starts July 20th, and the east side of Bethel Road, east of 99W, that's going to be closed starting July 20th for 21 days. It'll reopen on August 7th. That'll be a full closure. So your detours are a long way around. There are some gravel roads for those locals that know them. We got Frizzle Road on one side, Yampo on the other. The locals I know will be utilizing those. But in 21 days, that's going to be back opened up. They're going to be adding a north and southbound turning lanes on 99W. And then the east side, they're moving it northbound. So the two roads will line straight across from each other, no longer will be offset, which will make it a lot safer. And that's the goal. It should be completely done by the end of September, guardrails, pavement, everything, and they'll be out of there. Let's move down the highway here a little ways over here to 22 in Kings Valley. So you can see right now, South Burdale Road's closed completely. It's going to reopen in the middle of September. It'll be completely done. They're realigning south to go straight across from the North Burdale Road, so they meet directly instead of the offset of that 150 feet. That should make it a little easier, but again, 22 has a lot of traffic. When you come to that intersection, be patient and look both ways. Don't gamble. The cost is too high. That is probably our most dangerous intersection at this time. Next year, the roundabout will be built. It's going to start somewhere around April as soon as weather permits, and it should be done by the end of October, 1st of November, and that's their goal. One of the frustrating things on this particular project was the realignment of the North Currydale Road, bringing North Currydale over to the Kings Valley roundabout, which is one of the biggest safety things that we had going. And we lobbied hard for this for a lot of years. ODOT doesn't have money, so one of the project cuts was the funding for the construction of the North Currydale realignment. So the contract was 50% design. They're designing it to a 50%, it'll be ready to go, ready to accept funding. But until we figure out ODOT's new funding format, it's kind of on hold. It's going to be one of those things that I'm probably going to need your help in lobbying ODOT to get this back on the map and to get it built. So I'll look forward to that in the future. A couple of the other items we're heading going east there. Highway 22 and 51. We've created this huge project. It goes from Rick Rail Road to Dokes Ferry Road. It's $280 million. We know we're not going to get $280 million for any project. And a perfect example is Dundee Bypass. And basically, we've created another Dundee Bypass. We filed with Federal Highway Administration, state of Oregon, and they allowed us to break that down into 8 quadrants. So the first project of that is to build the interchange at 22 and 51. So when you come off from 22 heading west, going to Independence, you'll go off to the right. It's going to look just like Brick Rail. It's going to have that northwest loop. You'll come onto the overpass, you'll go across 22 in the air. No longer in the middle of no buses hit or head-ons. That's another one of our most dangerous intersections in the region. And I think it probably leads the area with the most fatalities recently. It will be getting a design team selected in the future. They don't have a date for that. They're hopefully it's going to be before the summer or early fall. And that was the last date on that. And then going to be the most painful for all of us to get through, and that is the seismic retrofit of the Center Street Bridge. So the Center Street Bridge is going to be 2 lanes for 3 years. There's going to be times when Wallace Road coming out of West Salem onto the bridge is going to be a single lane. All of the traffic will divert it up to enter at Rosemont. So you can just picture the traffic, because Wallace Road right now backs up all the way to the church on top of the hill on any time of day. And we go to single lane going onto the bridge. It's going to be brutal. For those of you that have to commute across the bridge to work, it's going to be a major challenge. We're going to have to be smarter. We're going to have to leave home earlier. You're going to have to be patient and give time. As soon as the first project gets done, which is a 3-year project, then about a year later, they're going to start the second phase. So there's going to be 6 to 7 years of this. There's going to be times that the only way out of West Salem is just Rosemont. The bridge will be closed at night. They are going to make spatial assessments. They'll block a 1 lane off on the Mary Street Bridge at night. So emergency vehicles, hospital, they can get us to that trauma center from wrecks on this side of the river, heart attacks, but that will be maintained. So that was a major chore, getting that done. And hats off to Salem Health for their involvement and joining me on that fight. So I appreciate it very much. And I always say, you know, there's a lot of years of meetings and lobbying to get done, and then you end up with 2 projects. I apologize to the Perryville residents, but we're going to make things a lot safer for you once this summer gets done. To get them both at once is pretty brutal. So with that, Commissioner Gordon, I'll let you wrap things up for us.
All right, thank you, good night. I'm just kidding. I appreciate my colleagues' overview thus far. And I know you didn't receive this in the message, but I want to reiterate, this is not a woe is me situation in terms of our budget picture. I think every household can understand that costs are going up and our revenues or incomes are staying flat or going up moderately. So the county has made decisions to cut positions, to institute across the board materials reductions for all departments and the like. So we are kind of, as Commissioner Pope said, looking at this very conservatively. But with that, I do want to focus kind of on our behavioral health and human services programs. As was mentioned, these are not funded through our general fund, through property taxes. These are funded through state funds, federal Medicaid funds that are passed through, marijuana tax revenues, and the like. I want to start by talking about the CARES Center just down the road at the Academy campus. Last year, we were gearing up to open that. So that was opened in October of 25. And that houses generally our crisis response teams. Those are both mobile crisis and folks who have crises that are walk-ins. And it also houses our behavioral health resource network, which is our substance use disorder services and other mental health response services. So within those 2 buckets, there are quite a few services. But just to give an update on the utilization of that facility for crisis, since October, they responded to 778 unique clients. Those are Polk County residents, some Marion County, depending on whether they're entering the system, offering 1,600 services to those folks. So that can include substance use disorder treatment referrals. It can include connection to primary care. It can include, suicide assessments and the like. So our crisis teams are very busy. They're active 7 days a week, doing a lot of good work, getting referrals from West Valley Hospital, law enforcement, EMS, and just in the community. So what does that mean for the general public? Well, if you or a family member or a loved one is in a mental health crisis, there are options to access that service and sort of bypassing other options. On the Behavioral Health Resource Network side, 215 unique clients have sought services for substance use disorder treatment. And these numbers are growing as time progresses. So awareness and utilization is going up. And these services are also wrapped in the 988 emergency line. I don't know if you've all heard of that, but it's an alternative to 911. However, Willamette Valley Communications does sort of help coordinate both of those systems and do cross referrals. And Northwest Human Services is also administering all of those 988 calls. So what does that mean? That means that if somebody has a mental health crisis, there's no threat or no crime involved. We can save the resources that our law enforcement folks might otherwise be deploying and make sure our mental health folks are at the right place at the right time, with law enforcement hopefully at the ready if that should be the case and needed. You may recall we used to have mobile crisis response teams, but there were some federal rules interpreted strangely by Oregon health authorities saying that we can't couple law enforcement, despite the level of training they have, with crisis response and qualified mental health professionals. But we sort of make do, and we kind of have another system that works in tandem with each other. On the homelessness side, the Partners Line Towards Housing Solutions is still very active. And if there's one theme in this human services world, it's really building capacity through partnerships. The county cannot do all of these things alone. Our strength is really in our coordination, our collaboration, and integration of services. So huge thanks to Polk County Family and Community Outreach, Church at the Park, West Valley Housing Authority, Community Action Agency, our behavioral health providers, our cities, and our community faith organizations and nonprofits. Since inception, 479 people have been housed and are now self-sufficient. This is through several programs. Could be rapid rehousing, or just traditional voucher programs, or just some deposit assistance. 91% of those rapid rehousing folks are stably housed after 2 years. So that's actually on the higher echelon of the state targets. And I think that is due to the partnerships and to the innovation of our Family and Community Outreach Department. All of these revenue sources are sort of changing or being reduced. And I want to reiterate again that the cost of living for folks has put a lot of pressure on our households, both for food costs, housing costs. Some folks are losing their health insurance, and our Medicaid Advantage programs especially are going up quite a bit for our self-insured folks and our small businesses. So I just want to recognize that. And the folks coming into our resource center in Monmouth, they're average working people. These are people who just need some temporary assistance for a food benefit, to see what they qualify for, to get a referral somewhere else. But our resource connectors are seeing folks of all sorts. So the folks who are bagging your groceries, the folks who are working for your organization, some folks who work for the county might need those services. I get a lot of questions about the HR1 impacts on Polk County. It's really tough to measure at this stage, I think, but just to put some context out there, for the SNAP program, that's the food benefit program, 8,500 households in Polk County receive SNAP benefits, and the average benefit is about $200, $200 to $300 a month, depending on numbers in the household. So it's a supplement. It's not a subsidy for somebody's grocery bills for the month. I did help organize the Marion Polk, what do we call ourselves? Marion Polk Safety Net Collaborative. So that's taking professional agencies in the food space. So that's the Marion Polk Food Bank, our food banks, DHS who administers SNAP, and then our housing providers, homelessness prevention providers, and our health providers, and all looking at those three buckets of pressures on a household, right? People are going to pay their mortgage before they feed themselves. People are going to make sure that their health care is up to date if they're in need of care. So a lot of folks are negotiating those different pressures in their household. We're working kind of as a Marion Polk County team to educate one another on the changes happening to sort of mitigate those pressures. and to help one another out, and then to sort of advocate to tell the story of how this is impacting folks in our communities. Out of HR 1-2 was a grant program called the Rural Health Transformation Program. This is a big chunk of federal money to help rural areas respond to healthcare needs in their communities. So we partner with the Willamette Health Council, Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, Santiam, and other rural providers, and we're awarded a pretty sizable grant in that space. And some of those funds will be used for a community paramedic program. If you're not familiar with that, it's a certification program for paramedics to provide non-emergency healthcare services in rural areas, including visits to homes, visits to community centers, and things like that, being a little more nimble and mobile and flexible to accommodate the transportation and other barriers that folks in rural places experience. So a lot of good things are happening despite the changes. Change is inevitable, but again, these partnerships provide resilience and provide the ability to adjust to changes. I could go on a bit in this space, but I'm going to stop there. I don't know, Tara, if you want to open it up for questions. I really appreciate everyone being here. Really appreciate my colleagues up here, and happy to hand it back to you.
Questions, thoughts, concerns? You've got to be specific.
When is the Center Street Bridge improvement going to happen?
It goes to bid this fall, and they'll start construction next spring.
Okay.
So in 27.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and it'll probably be later in the year when the
I mean, I understand
lane
it's
infections.
all kind of fluid.
There'll be plenty of notice given to the public.
Denise, you might need a satellite office in Polk County, just to.
You know, I know
With a
I
cat.
cross it in Paris Bridge.
Okay.
That's where I live.
So if you're coming home, shouldn't be an issue because the Marion Street Bridge won't be impacted. It's just your trip into Salem.
What are some of the ways that obviously we as community, I mean, you're talking about, educating ourselves on taxes and so on and so forth, and the way the process is. What are some of the ways that we, and I know the answers to this, but that we can get involved and that our community can get involved as far as, through the county, whether it's attending meetings or what does that look like as far as support and education in that direction?
Well, first of all, you're lucky to live in a county where your county commissioners are pretty accessible. So stopping by, making an appointment is always good. This document, the adopted budgets, is online if it isn't already. That's probably the singular document that you can learn the most about what the county does in terms of how things are paid for, where money is distributed, and then questions can be referred to, to your commissioners, and or we could tap our county administrator who has been serving for nearly 40 years and knows not only the current budget, but every year of every budget since he started. So the answers to your questions could be answered. Coming to the budget committee meeting, I tell people every year, if there's one meeting you're going to go to that first day of the budget committee meeting, because you're going to learn about every program we have and kind of what we've been facing over the past several years and through Craig's history. But that's my advice. I'm sure there are other ideas.
Commissioner Pope, you want to share your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, ditto to that. I think one of the challenges that we have is that I think people are relatively smart about what they pay in property taxes in Polk County, and probably one of the reasons why they choose to come here. So again, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure out that we're paying some of the lowest property taxes anywhere in the state into this county, or at least we're kind of in the middle of counties in the state as far as that goes. And I understand, again, I want to pay any more than anybody else does. So I appreciate that we're at this $1.71 plus the 49.5-cent rate, which is not going to last very long. I mean, it's going to go up, and it has to. And I think the challenge, though, that we have is that folks aren't aware enough about what those services actually provide or what those dollars provide services for. And we can't be like Marion County as far as service provided is concerned, because we don't have enough money to do what they do, for example. I honestly don't know where they spend all their money. And I mean, again, I can be a little jealous, I suppose. And again, same with other neighboring counties. It's just astonishing to me that they cry they need more money, and it's like, wow, look what we do with considerably less. But there is a breaking point, and that's what I want people to understand is like, we're at that point. Again, we have stretched things here as far as they can go. They're ready to break. The only thing that we can do next is eliminate services. We have to start reducing, our workforce and eliminate services. That's just how it works. And again, I don't see anything on the horizon that's going to make that better, other than these levies that I know everyone hates. But I would tell you this much: one of my emphasis for support on levies is that that's the one way you as taxpayers have a surety that every 4 or 5 years, the county has to show you why they are asking for another one or for more. They have to show you why, and they have to show you what they're going to do. And that's one of the things that we've had a lot of pride in, especially on public safety levy, is that, we can demonstrate for you specifically where that money is going. But it's not a static number. It doesn't get to stay where it's at. Again, we have cost of living increases for contract employees that we have to meet, and that's just law. It's the way it is. So anyway, levies are kind of the new normal for cities and counties, and it's a struggle, and especially in a space where people are pretty used to having very conservative taxes, and they don't want those to increase. And again, it's a danger for communities like Dallas, for example. It's a danger for their schools. It's a danger for their services. As far as city property taxes are concerned. And we're all seeing that. I mean, the honest truth is that there are different spots around the county that vote differently. And Dallas is one of them. Everybody that lives here is pretty used to having, a rate they can live with. Folks that live in West Salem, anybody here, West Salem? Anybody? Yeah, you? Tim's got a story. He's always got a story to tell you about what it's like to look at his tax statement. It's stark. It's startling. I don't know how folks that live in Salem do it. It's just amazing. And I'd scream, absolutely. But again, I suppose if everybody votes no on Salem taxes, they get to decide whether or not they have a library, or well, that didn't work last time. They voted to keep a library, and you get to pay for that. But, those are some of the challenges that we have. We're at a place where, well, if we don't get it, and I'm just saying this based on that, we have 2 levies coming back to back. And again, the fairgrounds levy, it's a levy, it's another tax, and I get it. People are going to be irritated, upset with it. And we have made it clear this time with regard to the fairgrounds, like, we can't keep doing this. We have a fairgrounds that's in serious trouble as far as infrastructure is concerned. When you have electrical systems that you can't buy parts for, and you can't fix, you can't replace things because they're so outdated, you have to fix those things, or it's an unsafe environment for the public. And we have a number of issues on the fairgrounds that can be considered unsafe environment, not to mention just the cost of operations on a day-to-day basis. And I had a conversation with the Fair Foundation today about the realities of the future, and they said, well, doesn't it just need a little extra help so it can get over a hump to be self-sustaining? And we've had lots of conversations at this table for well more than a year about the reality of it is that a fair and expo facility will never be self-sustaining. It will never survive without a supplemental revenue, unless John over there comes up with somebody that's, well, I know Lyle's working on it too, some money bags out there that want to come in and just dump money into it, but probably not a big positive business venture. I'm not likely to see any business folks that say, I'm going to step up and pour money into it. So it just doesn't make money. So, and then again, public safety, that, like I said, that levy's coming up in May of 27, and we're going to need a lot of help on that, or we're going to have to reduce the workforce in patrol, and we probably won't do it in the jail. We run a pretty tight ship in the jail, but patrol and probably some in community corrections, a little bit in the DA's office, which is disastrous. You know, we don't want that because we've basically got a bare minimum crew now in DA. So we need those folks in order to be able to process, you know, the cases that they have. So reducing that means you're going to turn some folks loose. And so I think you're going to find that going forward, the campaigns here for new money or extended money are going to have a lot more doom and gloom at the bottom line.
And I guess my biggest is that when you hear things posted on Facebook, don't take it for granted that that's fact. Give a call.
What?
I mean, it's crazy. By the time
Obviously not a Facebook user.
Yeah.
people get so worked out, by the time they call me, it's beyond, I mean, it should be entertainment, but it's frustration. And so take a look and make a phone call. Call anyone of us at any time, or anybody you know has any, is this real? I mean, you'll get one person's opinion, and where did he get his facts, or she? And that's the biggest thing. And I tell you, you don't have to be the person to attend every meeting, but get a group of people, each one of you go to one meeting and share what you learned with your other parts of your group. One night a month is not the end of the world to find out what's going on in your community. Then when you find out that housing development that's going to go behind your house and it's got maximum density with 0 off-street parking, you can fight that before it gets built. Once they start digging the ground, there's nothing we can do for you. And in city limits, we don't do that anyway, but we can steer you to the right person to talk to. Next up, when we elect people to office, and Denise will understand this, when you elect them to a minority, you've just put them into an impossible situation. Don't attack those people. Get a hold of them and find out how you can help them. There's people you need to write to and talk to and call, but it's not the person that you elected to do the impossible task. It's the other people that are in control. Find out who makes that decision so you can go to that realm of government. And when you're mad, which government are you mad at? Find that answer and then go accordingly. I mean, we will help you all we can, but literally that is the basis of having a good, knowledgeable community, is people talking about the right stuff and being active and having your voices heard. That's the key thing. All right, next question. We got a few more minutes.
That was a good rant. That was a good place to end.
Solid, yeah. Mic drop, let's go.
I feel like I'm getting picked on here a little bit. I wanted just to put this in perspective. When you guys are talking about the Polk County Fairgrounds, and because I live in the Marion County side of this community, but the state fairgrounds that Marion County uses is owned by the state. I mean, you guys know that. But what happened during COVID, there was so much, there was a lot of challenges to try to get that property set up to do what it needed to do. And I won't go into that, it's a fun little story. But the Polk County was ready to go immediately.
Yep.
And that resource, because sometimes people will go, oh, well, you know, we just go to the other, you know, the other thing. Well, the other thing is very complicated because different parts of it are owned by different people and you can't make a decision. And actually I had to have a conversation with the governor in order to get us to move to a place where we could do the service that needed to happen. And it wasn't because she was trying to be up, you know, it was just a complicated, it wasn't complicated for me. It was complicated to other people. But they saw things my way eventually. But the Polk County Fairgrounds is a huge asset. And so I'm really hope you can get that message out and just the understanding of that nimble ability and a very common sense approach to problem solving. It's just really a beautiful thing here in Polk County. I really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, it really is. And I think the challenge that we have is just the cultural drift that's happened in our society. And you know, how people value things that are available to them today. And again, so I'm not picking on Gen Z necessarily, but you know, as the younger set come into the communities and have needs for entertainment, fair and expo facilities aren't really a consideration for most of them, unless, of course, you're having large entertainment elements going on at those venues, which we don't do. We don't have large entertainment there, and for a variety of reasons. And so that makes it harder to get people to support it because they don't necessarily connect to it. And so that is a reality today. And we'll work our tails off in a campaign to try and convince people. But the honest truth is that there's a wide set of folks out there who go, I don't need a fairgrounds. I don't care about a fairgrounds. And that, I get that. But then when it gets closed or something, you know, we have to change it, eventually somebody's going, why in the hell didn't you keep the fairgrounds open? So, you know, we know that there'll always be an afterthought to that, but that's the whole point, is we have to try and get that message out to folks and say, look, there's probably a value for everyone here. And again, pick and support one of them so that you understand, you know, that it has value. So, I mean, again, we've made the statement, if, okay, so your kids aren't in 4-H or FFA or, you know, some kind of exhibits, but think about the reunification opportunities. You probably don't know this, but if your school district has an emergency, you know, a shooting incident or a threat of a shooting incident, that's where your kids are going to go for reunification. And I think most families don't get that. They don't know that. And we don't have another spot like that in the county that can meet all of the school district's needs. So there's something for everybody, but it's just a matter of us getting that message out and having people connect to something.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask more along the practical lines of if there were citizens who were willing to go, say, door knocking or what have you this fall for the levy. Is there a way somebody could put together a tract or a pamphlet brochure?
I have one for you.
I know
That would be awesome.
Let me know when we'll get it. Whatever you need.
We got them. Awesome.
Well, for folks listening, do you want to share that contact information? Because others might have that same.
Yeah. So we have a website coming, but for right now, if you just follow Friends of the Polk County Fair on Facebook, all of our things will be on there. And we do have a website coming, and we'll have a big booth at the annual fair, obviously, and then that's going to kind of be the launch into a full-fledged campaign. So, yeah, cool. Yeah, just let me know. Do whatever you need.
You say it was Friends of the Polk County Fairgrounds?
I think you already
I
follow.
bought it, I'm just making
I
sure.
think you already follow it.
Good job, Tara.
No, that was mine. Let's make sure to hear, hey, everybody, that was not us. No, it's really important, and I don't think that one of the things people realize is if the fairgrounds goes away, there's still fairgrounds sitting there that need repairs. It doesn't like, you know what I mean? It's like, not like all of a sudden like a magical building pops up and there's like manufacturing or, you know, that's still something that is gonna have to be taken on by
Millions of dollars of past investment
time and memory.
just sits there. So,
Yeah, one sort of misconception I hear is that, oh, well, why are you upgrading the electrical? You should have been doing that all along. Well, we have a finite budget every year for addressing deferred maintenance on infrastructure. You might have to say, hey, we're replacing the roof this year. We are doing, so like Tim said, lots of investment has been made in those facilities over the years. And I think probably since Commissioner Pope has been here, more so than in past decades. So a lot of work has been done, but again, it does not achieve the revenue on its own to satisfy all those needs. So we've been transferring funds from the general fund to help mitigate that for many years, but that's coming to an end. So we would not be asking the public for this if we didn't have to. It really has come to a critical time, so.
There's not a fairground in the state that pays for itself. That's net zero. So Jefferson County, with all the new buildings and that beautiful fairgrounds they have up there, A lot of those buildings were built with private donors. They still supplement $220,000 a year annually on average. Plus, they have the tour tax. So that's added on top of that. So we don't get any of the TRT tax money here. We have 4 hotels in Polk County, and that's just not one of those things that would amount to anything. But yeah. And even that one, Albany funds theirs, as beautiful buildings it is, they can't generate enough to let it self-sustaining. So.
I would also add, need to be derogatory to anybody, but you know, specific to social media and the fairgrounds most recently, and the accusations that have come at us and at the fair board and the fair manager about mismanagement, misappropriation, like we're all a bunch of idiots. All of you. You're a bunch of idiots because you don't do things the way a person thinks you should do them. Trying to stop short of saying anybody's name. But I find it so insulting to a community for people to throw stones at any of us that are trying to find solutions to some really tough problems financially. And it's like, you don't think that we've gone down a path to look at everything, every possible solution that we could try. And a lot of times the solutions just aren't feasible. You know, I mean, again, an accusation that, you know, we're not using all of our resources to hire, you know, big name bands to come and entertain us. It's like, we couldn't even begin to have that kind of a thought because we don't have any money. You can't promote people to come and do things for you to raise money if you can't pay them. And none of you out there would appreciate any of us making a decision to use your property tax money to put down for any big entertainer to come and sing to a partial crowd. It just isn't going to work. And, you know, and I continue to advocate that a lot of those things that we used to really enjoy with entertainment venues don't exist here anymore. They've gone away. They don't make money. And so if private business can't make them work, pretty unlikely that government's going to make them work. But, you know, we pull on every string. We try everything. I mean, I feel bad for the fair board. They have worked hard over the years. Lots of volunteers that have decided to be on the fair board, you know, looking for opportunities and ways to make that work. They've worked hard. And, you know, and the county's tried hard to make certain that we could put in money. It's not just during my tenure or our tenure, you know, it's something that's been ongoing. But when you've been trying to maintain a country fair kind of an atmosphere and with a property that was built out of the dirt, with, you know, I'd say farmer built for the most part. And I don't mean that to be derogatory. It's just, I grew up farming, so I know what it's like. And I think you used a statement earlier today.
They don't make barbed wire to fix things anymore.
Yeah, or baling wire. We don't have a new type of baling wire to do this with anymore. So, you know, we try these things. And it's the same thing with the county budgets. I mean, we network with so many different people and we're engaged in conversations all the time, just like cities are. Constantly engaged, looking for other alternatives. And once in a while, we step out and we put something on a ballot and we make an effort to try some new thing to try and make it work. And we catch a lot of stones from people that say, oh, you're a bunch of idiots, or you're padding your own pay. You know, you're putting this money, our money in your pocket. It's like, you know, I've fought raises over the years here, you know, and have had a couple of years where I didn't take anything extra because I don't want to take anything that when any other people aren't going to be able to take, you know, compensation increases. And, you know, I've tried to be, you know, as conservative as I can about what I get and in making decisions that would reflect everybody else's feeling. So it's disheartening, you know, for any of us. And of course, we're not volunteers. I mean, there's no secret about we get paid to do this job and we take it seriously and we spend our days engaging in it and trying to make certain that we can make a difference. But it's hard to educate folks that take that kind of an approach and criticism of what we do. And I'm not crying about it. I'm just pointing out that this is some of the stuff that we're up against. And then that kind of thing added to social media just amplifies it. And it convinces other people that they don't want to pay anything extra either because we're all crooks.
And I'll tell you, as a business.
Don't end on crooks, by the way. Don't end on that.
Let me change this up. As a businessman, when your expenses rise, you raise sales to offset that. As a government entity, our operations expenses continue to rise, but we can't go raise revenue. You can't outsell your way or outperform it. We've got some of the best department heads that are constantly thinking ways to save and cut and find more efficient workloads. And they're to the point where there's nothing left. And our doors are open all the time. They come in off and on looking for thoughts and somebody's sound thoughts off of, and what if we did this? And right now we're all to the point where we've done everything we can. The sheriff's got 2 openings that we just told him he can't rehire. We don't have the money to pay him. Wage costs, just like every business and every entity here. You can't operate because everybody says, why do you continuously need to raise taxes? Well, because expenses continue to raise, just like your business. Do you operate on your 2017 budget? There's no way with just health insurance alone. It's tripled 4 times that in the last 10 years. It's PERS, liability issue. I mean, they just keep kicking that can down the road, and we keep facing that challenge that it just continues to build. So it's no different than the business that you have or your own household. It's a challenge. We have a great team in Polk County. You all need to be proud of the people that work here. They do everything they can.
We did. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? Well, I would like to reiterate what Commissioner Morhor said. This is our final state of the county with Commissioner Pope sitting on that side. We hope in the future that he'll join us in the audience and he'll to heckle. But thank you. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm not.
Yeah. Oh, there's no ideas there. You already had them. But I just want to say thank you sincerely, personally, but as a group and as a county, thank you for the time that you've given and for putting your passion and heart and soul out there and everything. So just thank you so much and for doing things like this for us to be able to communicate, making yourself accessible. So thank you so much. I think we need to give another round of applause for Commissioner. And then obviously thank you to all 3 of you for being here today and for being willing to share the good, bad, and the ugly, and to be able to do that. And obviously if people have additional questions, thoughts, or concerns, there are many ways to be able to reach you guys. And so we will make sure that we share that as well. Otherwise, just go to the website. So thank you very much. Thank you guys all for being here tonight, and enjoy.